Without a vision, the people perish. Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie Libhart.
Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and you're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. We have someone here that went for his vision. We can find out how he did that and some of the things he had to go through in order to do that. And who it is Coach Dee Powell. Now, if you saw the movie or book or saw it on the internet about the Junction Boys, he was one of those. So he'll have to tell you that story, but I can tell you he's a tough one. And I want to find out if he's still going for his dream and goals in life, because I ran off the internet, and you may want to also. It is just wonderful, all the things you can learn about the Junction Boys, and I'm going to let him tell you about it. First of all, welcome, Coach Dee Powell.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm sorry Miss Diane couldn't be with us, but hey, another time.
She's tied up, and she'd love to be here, but I had to leave her running the store.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? We'll untie her the next time. We'll just take that rope right off of her. You live in Birmingham.
We're in Birmingham, right.
But you are from Lockhart, Texas.
From Lockhart, Texas. We both are.
Oh, both of you are?
Right.
Uh-huh. She your childhood sweetheart?
Childhood sweetheart.
Oh, she is so beautiful, inside and out.
She's a beautiful person.
She is. Well, I wanted people to see how you go for your dream and went for your dream. Now there's so many things. One of the most outstanding things is coaching with Coach Bear Bryant. And since we have a new coach at Alabama now, he'd like to measure up to Coach Bear Bryant, but I would think that'll probably never happen with anyone in the world. But he and Paterno from Penn State, where my husband graduated.
Right.
And they're those guys that just have a legend in their own time. Tell us a little bit about Coach Dee Powell. How did you become a coach?
Well, it was a long story, but I've always loved working with people, and I really enjoyed the time I spent with Coach Bryant, although some of the things we did were very tough, like the junction part that you were mentioning, but it helped us grow up and helped us understand that we had to fight to go for our dreams if we wanted to have those. Because I know this: if you never fall down, you never can tell when somebody's going to get up. Mm-hmm. And so, during life, the challenge is to go for something, and if you do fail, well, then keep on going if it's that important to you. But I'll tell you the Junction story. I was a walk-on football prospect at Texas A&M.
Mm.
The local people there in Lockhart, Texas, decided that I had enough to me that they'd pay my first year's tuition, semester tuition.
First semester.
So I came there. They were paying my tuition, and Coach Bryant came there that spring. And, of course, we had over 100 people there on the football team, and you had a lot of scholarships. And back then we had more than we have now. But when Coach Bryant came in to a place at A&M, and he got up on the stage, and all those Aggies were there because we weren't winning at A&M. He came from Kentucky, and he took his coat off and threw it down and said, "We're about to start winning at Texas A&M." Said, "I'm ready to get started now." And so none of us really knew what he meant, but he had a tough spring practice. And I made the cut every day, because every day he'd put on the list who was going to be there, who was going to get a uniform. If you didn't try, he wouldn't even give you a uniform the next day, even if you were on scholarship or a good player. So everybody tried hard. But a lot of people left that spring. But then the next fall we came in, and we had our clothes and everything. We came in for the fall to begin practice, and the people said, don't take your suitcases out. Don't do that. we're fixing to go somewhere. And we said, where are we going? Said, we can't tell you yet, but we're going to go somewhere else to practice. And we thought, my goodness, we don't know. We didn't know where we were going. But so anyway, finally the buses came up. We were all confused. And we got a couple of bus loads of us and headed west out past Austin. We kept on going. And finally we found out we were going to Junction. And we didn't have any idea.
That's kind of like out in the boonies.
It was
Waco, Texas.
It was a summer camp up in the hill country up there. It was kind of a tough place, but we went through a lot of things. Coach Stallings was in that group. So was Coach Pardee. He was my roommate. But the things we learned out there was, some of the things in life are tough, and you got to keep on trying, even though it's hard on you. And so we got a lot done in Junction.
Now I understand that's one of the hottest summers known to Texans even.
Very hot.
Yeah.
And that was before we would give players water. We wouldn't let them have water. And now they'd all die because we're so air conditioned. But we did have one that had a heat stroke, and he nearly died. But over a period of time, they have begun to give us water during practice. So now they keep us full of water, so we won't have that problem.
Now several didn't make it through the camp, did they?
A lot didn't make it through the camp, and we had one of the best players we had named Fred Broussard, and one of the afternoons it was really hot, and we were all tired and thirsty and worn out, and Fred Broussard just walked off the field, and Coach Bryant said, don't you walk off the field, Fred, because I can't let you come back. He just kept walking. He didn't say it. So he was an all-conference player. He was one of the best players we had. So he walked off. Anyway, that evening he came into the mess hall to eat, and they said, you can't eat in here. This is for the football players. Said, you got to go talk to Coach Bryant before you get. So Fred did. He went and talked to Coach Bryant. And Coach Bryant said, Fred, I don't know. Let me pray about it overnight, and I'll tell you in the morning what I'm going to do about it. So it was a long night for Fred, but the next morning he came up and talked to Coach Bryant. And Coach Bryant said, Fred, here's what I've decided. We're trying to build a championship football team here. And if I let you come back, then the next time somebody gets hot, they might just walk off, and it might be on the goal line. We might be in a game. I said, Fred, I can't let you come back because it wouldn't be treating the team right. So here's your bus ticket out of here. And so everybody was hoping. We don't have a center. He's the best player we had. So that sort of set the tone for he's pretty serious.
Very serious. And how many would you say, what percentage or how many didn't make it through the camp?
Well,
and how did you make it through the camp?
Just because I just kept making it day by day. And, one day you'd make it because we practiced twice a day and we had meetings the rest of the time. It was a tough camp. But
he was one of those, this is a football guy.
He wanted to make sure that we had the heart, the toughness. And what he did was he built a heart for the team that he was going to have a few years from that, because we didn't have enough players left to have a really good team the next year. But it was one of the things in life that was tough to do, but we accomplished it and we learned some things.
So were you happy the very last day and you saw your name?
Oh, yes.
You got that uniform to keep.
Right, and we were so happy when we left Junction. They said we went out in 2 buses, came back in a Volkswagen. But we had about 35 people that came back. But that was really a time in our life that we really paid the price.
Well, how did it happen that they made a movie out of it?
Well, Coach Bryant was such a famous coach.
Yeah.
And someone wrote a book and got the rights to write a book about it. And then they liked it because Coach Bryant's been so popular. If you go into a bookstore, every year there's several books about Coach Bryant. He's an icon. He just won't go away. And people write books every year, so they thought a movie about it would be good, and so they made the movie.
And so you were one of the Junction Boys.
One of the Junction Boys, right.
Now, how did you get to Alabama? How did that come about? You're now in Texas A&M,
right.
One of the most famous schools in the world.
Well, yeah, we ended up back in Alabama a few years back when Coach Bryant was coaching his last few years. I was the offensive line coach for the last few years that he coached. And I won 3 national championship rings by being there with him because, he was the best. He just knew how to coach and knew how to get people to play hard and reach for their dreams. He didn't call it dreams, but he wanted you to be the best. I know every day we had to practice. Never will forget it. Every day he would call us up just before we started practice, and he'd say, now remember, today it might be hot and everything, but we want to try to get a little better today. Remember, because if we do that every day, by the end of the year, we will be a lot better. So try hard to get a little bit better today. And then he would let us go, and he would watch over us. And it was amazing. I left Alabama and I went into the Air Force, and I came back after a few years, and I was so impressed by the intensity of the practice. I couldn't believe it. Because, as you know, when I left, I was up to the speed of everybody else. Mm-hmm. And you wonder why they're better than everybody else. And then you go somewhere else, and you're there for a while, and everything kind of drops about 10%. And that seems like normal. But you come back and you see what they're doing, you say, that's why they win, because they are so intense, and they demand the best out of everybody. And so they raised the bar, and Coach Brunt kept the bar up there. Mm-hmm. And so you were able to be the best you could be. See, that's great to teach people. Mm-hmm. Be the best you can be. I don't care what you're doing. If you're a housewife, if you're a teacher, or if you're a football coach, or whatever it is, be the best you can be.
Sound like my brothers, we all learned from my dad. He was like that too, boy. He was one of those that you hear about, third grade education. My mother had a college education, how they got together. But you know, he used to teach me algebra, and he learned Greek and Hebrew on his own.
Learned it on his own.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to.
Because he wanted to. So you can do just about what you want to do.
It's incredible what a human being can do.
Yeah. I married at 16 and finally got a doctorate, but I went to school all my children's lives. You know, I have children, go to school, have a job. Always had a job and work, children in school. But you can do what you want to do if you have a passion for it. And what did you do after? Well, no, wait. You got to tell me an incident you were really proud of. You went in, I wish I could remember that story about when Bear Bryant came into the room where you were, and you remember a story, it might come to you, and you thought you were doing so good and he didn't.
Oh, well, this was, Coach Bryant was good to people, but he was hard on them not being their best. He wanted them to always try to be their best. And we were practicing one day, I'll never forget it. I came back and went to work. Coach Bryant hired me to come back and coach the offensive line. And I hadn't been coaching the offensive line, I'd been coaching defense, so I had to make a transition. And we had a great coach named Ken Donahue, and I loved him, but he was so ornery and hard-headed, and he hated it if you made an inch on the defense in practice or in the game. I mean, he couldn't stand it, so he was always doing some kind of stunt or some kind, because he wanted to win every time we did anything. And our offensive line was so bad. I mean, I just knew. I said, something terrible was about to happen because we're not doing anything. Coach Bryant's not going to put up with this. And all of a sudden, everybody just stopped and started to turn around and look. And I looked back then, Coach Bryant was behind the huddle. And I thought, I'm in for it now. But he looked at me and said, Coach Powell, that's the worst job of coaching the offensive line in the history of football. Not just at Alabama, but the history of football. Well, that was his way of saying, buddy, that's not getting it. And, you know, I never will forget it because I went back to Alabama, got on the staff there, and the intensity and the elevation of effort and go get them and everything was so strong. For the first few days, I would come home, and I never will forget, I'd open the door, and my face would be skinned up sometime, and I'd be looking and dying and said, what happened to you? Well, I was trying to make Coach Bryant's coaching staff. And I said, Diane, don't unpack, because, you know, we may be leaving. And really what happened was he made me reach down, and he didn't want to give me a whole lot of time to do it. See, nowadays people just take just keep on taking time to develop. He wanted me to do it because he needed it right then. The one thing about Coach Bryant, if he saw a problem, he stopped the whole bunch and said, let's fix that. And he would get together with it, and we'd work it out right there. So he didn't just let it slide. Well, because of that, I was able to decide I'm going to be the best I can be, and I can be good, but I just have to give effort and try, and so I did that. And over a period of time, I think I became a pretty good coach because I won a coaching trophy for the best Southeastern Conference assistant coach, and it was touch and go. But see, I think in life, if you're going to go for the big things that you're trying to do, there's going to be some touch and go times, and you're going to have to decide, here it is, and I'm going to do it. I know it's tough, and I fell down, but I'm getting up, and I'm going for it because it's up to me. and I can be that good because I know I can. So
if it is to be, it's up to me.
and Coach Bryant was a master at getting the best out of people, not only players but also coaches.
Mm-hmm. You know, those lessons that you learn remind me of my mom. She said the things you do, you don't have to do, will always determine what you are when it's too late to do anything about it. You have to run those wind sprints. You have to do what it, get up and make what they say that it, I call him, the most famous basketball player said he missed more hoops than anyone, but he shot more hoops than anyone.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Goodness, having one of those sensational moments.
Yeah.
But that's the way we have to do no matter what we're doing, just like you said, is do the very best.
Right.
Now, you had children by this time, you
right.
and Diane. How many do you have?
We had 2. We got a boy and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and we raised our family, and I kept coaching. But the thing that I love most about coaching is that you learn that you're influencing people to get to be the best they can be because they want to. Mm-hmm. And I'm reading a book now by Coach John Wooden. He's a famous basketball coach at UCLA.
Yes.
He's 95 now.
Whoa.
There's a new book. He's got a bunch of books out about him. And he's so great. And I never knew why he had his greatness, but he's really great because he's not interested in what he is. He's interested in how he helps other people. Mm-hmm. And, he won, I think it was 9 national championships in 10 years. And that's unheard of in basketball. I mean, you just can't do that.
Yes.
But he got the players to play the best they could play. Mm-hmm. And because he, when he'd come to a game, he'd say, gentlemen, my job's done. This is up to you. If you want to win, you're prepared. So let's go out there. And so he prepared them so well with fundamentals that when they got to the games were just a breeze. And some of them were tight. They didn't win all their games, but they won a lot of them. But my point is, coaching means that I'm helping somebody know how good they can be, and they need to reach for that. And part of it is the love that we see in the Bible. It's love that you have for people and how you're connected with them. And I think that's what makes your life worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were at Alabama.
Then Alabama.
And then I hear some stories about you helped another team in the state of Alabama have a little bit more money than they did out.
Right.
Tell me about that transition and how you handled that.
It was a difficult transition, but we were at Alabama for a number of years and coached. But then I got into something called development, which is you're raising money for the university. And I was good at it because I knew connected with people. That's what you have to do. You have to know how to understand people. So we got an offer to go to Auburn and had a good friend down there named Jerry Smith. And we loved Jerry Smith and Joanne. And so we went to Auburn because he gave me a chance to, he moved me up to where I would be 5 or 10 years ahead of where I was, and just by the snap of your fingers. So we went down there and made the transition, and over a period of all those years that we were down, about 9 years, we raised $27 million for the university.
Oh my
goodness! And we had a great time down there. Some of the people couldn't understand why Alabama would come to Auburn, but they were wonderful people, and we had a great tour.
That's why you were watching that game on New Year's Day. I'm watching the Auburn game right now. So you learned to love both teams.
Well, there's great
teams.
people that, we have rivalries. Of course we do, football rivalries. But I'm telling you, they're 2 different universities. But Auburn's a great university. You just have to check their records to see the people that they graduated, and so is Alabama. Mm-hmm. And we have a time about the competition and one-upsmanship on my team's going to win and things like that. But that's small compared to what kind of job they're doing with the people they have. And Auburn's a great school too, and we had a good career down there.
Mm-hmm. And you were there 9 years.
9 years.
How long were you at Alabama?
Oh, probably 10 or 15. I get, time
here
kind of gets away from you.
Yeah, that's right. It does. And my brother had won a scholarship to the University of Arkansas. He played all 4 years, and
really?
he was center, and won all Southern. whatever that means. I never knew except he got this little football.
Yeah.
But I don't think he ever got any of those rings like
Who
he
was
did.
the coach? Do you remember who the coach was? Was it
I don't
Frank Broyles?
remember. I think it might have been. Yeah, that could have. I think that's what it was. But they would go and follow the games. And one day in church, our preacher played at Auburn.
Oh, really?
And so he's Auburn and Arkansas played, and Arkansas beat Auburn that day. So we went into church, and he's back there at the back of the church, and it's time for him to preach. And he said, the leader, the praise and worship leader said, John, you want to come on up here? He said, I'm back here seeing if I can recruit any Auburn players. And so I went back out after the service was over, and I said, now, my brother played Arkansas. Can I still come to church here? But, it's all that we love people, and
it's about people, yes.
It's about setting our goals, our long range. I call them long range, short range, tangible, intangible goals. It's about seeing beyond where you are and what you want to be. Now, you are doing some other things now. You didn't really ever retire from working, if I should say that.
I'm not going to retire.
Cool.
Diane won't let me retire, but it's
well,
seeing,
she's not retiring either. So.
Seeing the long range things that we're talking about, and Coach Bryant was good at this. He got us to see a vision. Not just how we were going to practice and be tough and all that and hustle, but he got us to see a vision. That's why we looked to win the national championship so much, because he wanted us to have a dream. In fact, we recruited people with the dream to win the national championship, because the dream gives you power, because it connects with your heart. Instead of just your mind, it connects with your heart. And the power comes out of your heart, because, you can think about when you talk about someone, said, they really got a big, strong heart. You've done that before. And what that means is, boy, they're really strong and they're involved. They're not just passive. And then you'll see some of you say, they didn't have any heart. And so I know
could have more ability and not the heart.
A lot of ability,
not the passion.
But so heart plays a big part of being successful in life, I believe. And so it also helps you get the power that the way God made us, that brings the power front and center. It helps us have more power. By having the dream, it hooks up to our heart and it just stirs us up to where we're really trying to accomplish something and trying to be something special. And it's our dream that gets us going. And that gives us that vision. And anybody like Coach Bryant or any good coach, or especially a great coach, has to have the ability to get people to dream. And see that vision.
Can people dream if they feel like they've been, let go in their job? Or I know I interviewed Ken Rutger that was with Green Bay Packers for a dozen years, very long time for a person to play for one team. And he wrote a few books about after the game is over, and did a movie and did some things, because he said it's people can't get back up again many times when they maybe are not recruited. What's that word? When you're not recruited again by another team, whatever that. So how do people, whether it's a job or coaching, or they got laid off, or they just retired, how can they get that next dream?
The next burst of energy or belief. Well, I believe that there's three things that really guide how we're thinking, and it's about our mindset. It's how we think. Faith. If you don't have faith, and that is you don't see it, but you're thinking about it, because that's like having that vision, then you can't have hope. And if you don't have faith and hope, then it kind of turns off your life mechanism. You're just kind of going through the motions. But if you have faith and hope, it gives you that extra special boost. And so we have to talk about faith, and we have to dream and think about what we can get done and have that hope. And it's up to us and the people we associate with. And so we have to talk ourselves into having faith in things.
Faith and hope, and what was the last one?
Love.
And love. I think I've heard that before.
They
like
got that
1
out of the good
Corinthians
book.
13.
1
Right?
Corinthians 13 is where it is.
Yeah, first my kids went to a Christian school and they memorized that whole
Yeah,
chapter, First
yeah.
Corinthians 13, and I was always happy about that.
Sure.
Well, I am so happy that you came and you encouraged us. I wanted to ask you more about the new Nick Saban that's at Alabama and how he could. What is Freeport going to do now, and how's Miami going to handle all of it, and how are we all going to?
Well, I just think that he's a top-notch person.
Yes.
He's very well qualified, and his heart is back in college coaching, according to what he said.
Yes.
And I can understand that. And I just think that he will try to bring out the best in the program and the players and the recruiting and the offense and the defense. And he's trying to bring it up to a level of high quality. And I heard his interview today and what he said when he was talking to the press down there in Tuscaloosa. I like what he said. I like how he answered the questions, and I think that he's going to be up to the task. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it.
Oh, yes. Who knows? He might be another Bear Bryant.
Who knows?
You just can't tell.
He didn't,
Joe Paterno.
Yep. Joe Paterno, he'll do it his
Penn
way,
State.
but
Yeah.
he knows what he's doing, and he'll be
does.
able to do a good job, we feel like.
Well, I'm glad that you did that. I'm glad you were in the movie. And I had set a goal. I was asked in June to write this book from a friend of mine called Backstage, and she was the only person ever hired by Hank Williams. She'll be 80 this month. And so this is about Bernice Turner and Hank Williams Sr., and she played with B.B. King and, in fact, had a 15-year affair with him, and his love letters are in here. But she was rededicated her life to the Lord, and she has been an example. She was with a lot of the people that don't do the way they should in the entertainment field, and she never did get into the drinking and drugs. And this is a story about a lot of these people that maybe you'd like to have a copy, and you can get it off of the eBay or Amazon.com or toll free 877-823-6886. I think you see that running down at the bottom. And if you order, you will get a bonus book, either about my daughter or this born again marriage, how God put our marriage back together, where we've been married a long time. And I was going to show this instance about another one of my favorite
Trump.
people. Well, Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, Kiyosaki,
yeah,
right.
And
yeah.
he had in here about recommending network marketing, and that's
Yes,
something that
yes.
anybody can do at any age.
That's right.
Whether they're 18 years old or 88 years
Right.
old.
It's a great way to build residual income if you
Yes,
get with a
and-
good company
yes.
and with some good people. And Kiyosaki does recommend that. And so does Trump, by the way.
Yes, that's true. They both do. Trump's really doing that. And we want you, if you'd like to have a copy of this tape of Coach Dee Powell, who had played with Bear Bryant, coached with Bear Bryant, and was one of the Junction Boys, then you may have it. Call us at 877-823-6886. And anyone that would like to have a DVD of this, we'd be happy to see that you get that, especially if you buy the Backstage book. That'll help. And thank you so much. And thanks to Miss Diane
Thank
for
you.
letting you come
It was
up.
fun. You bet.
Mhm.